Welcome to the KBB Review podcast, the show all about the world of independent kitchen and bathroom retail. I'm Andy Davies, the editor of KBB Review, and our regular retailers are all here. And today we're talking rebates. Are they just a nice Brucey bonus, or are they something you actively plan and strategize for? Do you knowingly influence your customers to hit the targets? Just how negotiable are they? And at the end of the day, are they actually fit for purpose? Do they actually incentivize you to sell more of the brand's products? So here's our A-team. We have Nick Warrington from Stuart J. Warrington in Macclesfield. Hello, Nick.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you. We have Liz Pantling-Jones from Lima Kitchens in Milton Keynes. Hello, Liz.
Morning.
Morning. We have Steph Warner from Pier 1 Bathrooms in Hove. Hello, Steph.
Hello, everyone.
I tell you what, I bet it was lovely in Hove this weekend. I bet it was packed.
Absolutely beautiful.
Man. And we have Trevor Scott from RFK in Rugby. Hello, Trevor.
It's more beautiful here on the Isle of Mull this week, though.
Well, this is it. We are following you around your tour of Scotland in the Trevmobile. Last week, Glen Coe, but where are you now? Tobermory?
Tobermory.
To me, that's just the Wombles, but that just shows my age. Okay, we're going to talk about rebates today, and I suppose incentives in general from suppliers. So let's start with you, Trev, because you've been in this game a very long time. You'll know all the ins and outs. How important are supplier rebates to you, your business, your overall profitability, and do you actively plan around them, or are they just a nice thing that comes along?
I would say, generally speaking, it's the latter. We don't take into account, in terms of our margin management, any potential rebates or retrospective discounts that we might get as a consequence of turnover. So they don't impact at all on our margin. When we get to the end of the year, for any particular supplier that we're on a rebate with, then maybe we might be a little bit short and we'll spend a bit of extra money just to tip us over the line to make sure that we get the next tier of rebate through. On other occasions, we perhaps won't because it's too much. The gap that we've got to bridge to hit the next tier of margin is too great, so we don't do it. But it's always treated as a bonus, and it's spent accordingly, and usually on something like replacement displays.
Liz, what about you?
Trevor nailed it.
So they're just a nice thing that comes along.
Yeah, I think, definitely don't factor it in. It's not guaranteed. It's just a little bonus at the end, helps boost margins. I suppose with some of those suppliers, it makes it worthwhile selling their products if you do meet them, where you can't make quite as much margin potentially. And there are occasions where we might incentivize a certain product being included in the kind of overall package in order to meet those targets as well. But it's definitely not within our forecasting and budgeting.
What about the bathroom world, Steph? Is rebates a big part of your business, or a Brucey bonus?
Yeah, same Brucey bonus. I thought I might be the only one to say that, and I was thinking, God, I need to look at my rebates. But no, obviously we're aware that some of them are there, and it's a nice little perk at the end of the year, but it's certainly not at the moment something that we plan around throughout the year, if you see what I mean. There'd be many more factors that would influence which suppliers we pick to go to over and above the rebates. Not to, say that they're not very welcome, but yeah, it's not something we plan around.
Right, what about you, Nick?
Yeah, exactly the same. I think and we might come on to it, I think the only thing that I have done probably over the last few years is kind of rationalise how many suppliers I'm actually spending money with, and then the ones that are left, talk to them about rebates. So although I don't fix it in my forecasting, I do try and set up a rebate agreement where there wasn't one before.
I suppose this is all about incentivizing you and your staff to prioritize one particular brand or product over another. That's kind of the point of them. It's an incentive. So, Trev, how much planning do you put into getting to those targets without trying to force them on your customers?
Well, we simply don't. We have established relationships with our top-tier suppliers. Those relationships have developed regardless of rebates, because we like the product, we like the service, and we like the overall margin that we were achieving without talking rebates. And that becomes the key product in whatever area it might be. And the staff know it, and that's what we're selling. So, if we're a brand X appliance retailer, then that's it. Brand X is the one that we predominantly push, with brands A, B, and C following along as second, third, and fourth choices. And that might be higher or lower in the scheme of things in terms of, sort of cost and perceived value to the consumer. As far as the rebates are concerned, they're not something that we incentivise the staff with directly, because we don't know what that's going to be until we get there at the end of the year. They earn good commissions on their sales regardless, and they know that the bonus that comes off, they know the bonuses exist, the rebates exist, but they also know that those bonuses come to the business for it to spend as it sees fit for the greater good of the overall business. Which doesn't mean to say that Tom and I go on really great holidays. The rebate money comes in the end of January, February.
Well, you've got to pay for that motorhome somehow, Trev. Steph, how about you? Is this something, 'cause you're a relatively new business or you're relatively new to this business, was rebates something that you were quite surprised are as available as they are? And were you even tempted to not push them on your customers, because I don't think anybody would ever do that, but to just nudge them in the right direction, or at least have some kind of strategy for hitting targets without compromising who you are?
No, it really hasn't influenced so far the suppliers that we've chosen to prioritize. In fact, sometimes we become aware of rebates from a rep and we didn't even know the rebate was there. It wasn't clearly communicated, and it really is just a little added perk. I have recently joined a community, just last week in fact, which is all around choosing suppliers. I'm not sure we're mentioning names, but choosing suppliers because of the rebates they can offer. And it has made me think about rebates a bit differently. But interestingly, not all of the suppliers that offer rebates at the end of the year offer you the best terms throughout the year. So I would choose a supplier based on the terms they offer us rather than the rebates they offer, because obviously that's far more fixed and predictable. And other incentives that some suppliers offer would be far more attractive, I would say.
Liz, if you're, 5% off getting your rebate target, would you kind of nudge one of your designers to go, for God's sake, make sure you sell another one of those ovens or whatever?
No, we would probably just buy stock of what is our most popular product, so we have it there ready for the next time it's ordered, because we know it's going to sell, theoretically. We've got a couple of very old ovens. But yeah, we would make a business decision on it. Even if we didn't sell this for a while, the rebate might be a little bit more, so we would potentially make that purchase.
And do you have a conversation about rebates when you're taking a supplier on, or are you like Steph, that it's just one of the things on a long list of terms?
It's one of the things on a long list of terms. I think personally, as I've said before, I think that rebates become quite fair to suppliers and to retailers, because you get that money back, but they're not also giving away free product that may not have a return on for them. So I kind of understand that. I think that's probably the only time it's discussed up front with us.
And would you ever incentivize a customer to take something knowing that it helped you on towards a target?
I'm not that person. I'm very much, it needs to be the right product for the client, because then I'm going to get more recommendations, which would be worth more than the rebate.
Right, okay.
Theoretically. So it's about getting it right in our business, as opposed to what we're going to, not necessarily all we're going to get back. I don't know how to word it, but yeah, that kind of rebate is potentially not worth it.
What's interesting about this, Nick, so far is, look, this is clearly an incentive scheme, and none of you seem particularly incentivized by it.
Yeah, I think, well, the way I look at it, probably slightly different to Liz, is that because of maybe it's the way that we design and sell our kitchens, for example, is that, we buy in component form and get our kitchens made. And so, for example, I could pick up a painted shaker door from supplier A and pick up a painted shaker door from supplier B, and Joe Public would have a lot of difficulty in discerning one from the other. And so it may be the case that everything else being equal, it's worth holding that sample A up rather than sample B, because of the fact that you know that if you do enough turnover on that particular supplier's product, there is the opportunity to have a rebate at the end of the year. And so I think that's what some of the rebate scheme is aimed at, really, is to perhaps try and maximize how much share of a particular channel, product channel, a supplier is getting, where they are up in competition against other suppliers where there's a very similar product available. So it wouldn't sway me to offer something that I didn't think was suitable for the client, but what it might do is, I might look at that and think, well, they're both suitable for the client, but that one may earn me a bit of rebate at the end of the year, and that one definitely won't.
What do you think, Trevor? Is this an incentive or not? It seems quite a strange approach if all the retailers just treat it as a nice bonus if it happens.
Well, suppliers, generally speaking, are target-driven themselves, so it then becomes the nature of the beast. They target drive their clients. And if you're dealing with, in terms of electrical appliances, certainly, if you're dealing with the large electrical retailer groups, then they're all about shifting boxes, and incentives are going to work in those circumstances. And it doesn't necessarily flip over into the kitchen retail market or the bathroom retail market in quite the same way. But the schemes exist and we benefit from them. But for sure, when I get to have my meeting with key supplier number one for branded appliances to discuss turnover figures, we sit there and go, "We're having a laugh, aren't you? If you think we're going to do another 50 grand in these economic circumstances, you can think again. Come back to us with a better offer." And they usually do, because they still want our business and want us to drive towards a target that's achievable. So it swings roundabouts to a certain extent. Where schemes do definitely work, though, is with display schemes, whereby our furniture suppliers will provide a display with a 365-day invoice on it at display discount. And providing we hit an agreed level of turnover of sales either on that particular kitchen or that particular kitchen door, or overall across the range of products that we sell from that supplier, we hit a new target, then that display invoice gets torn up with a 100% credit note against it. Now, that's something we would very definitely aim towards achieving, because we've bought the display in advance on the assumption that we were going to grow sales. So it's beholden on us to try and achieve that. Otherwise, we've got a big bill to pay out at the end of the year.
Right, so that is an incentive. Steph, talk me through a little bit more about the mathematical process you're going through there, about terms versus rebates, because I suppose a rebate looks very pretty. It's a very nice kind of cherry on the top of something, but actually you look like you've done a bit more maths behind it to work out whether over the year it actually benefits you.
Yeah, I think we can, to an extent, negotiate the terms that we get with certain suppliers by committing to them. And when you do the maths, that will be more profitable for you over the year. Terms can vary quite a bit, and often you don't know that actually with a bit of extra chat with your rep or commitment, then you can actually push those terms higher. So that's the approach that we've taken, is to kind of commit to the suppliers that we know work for us, that offer the quality goods and the quality aftercare service. There's some suppliers that at the end of the day, it's the sales team that are choosing the products that they put into the individual designs, and they will do that based on what's right for the client. But there are suppliers that offer extra incentives for the sales staff, vouchers and things like that. And I've noticed that the sales staff are very, they do respond to that. Because it's tangible to them, they're not looking at the profit and loss sheets and things. So yeah, that certainly influences staff, I've noticed. But for us, I think it's about understanding which suppliers work best for your clients, and then just trying to nurture that relationship with them to maximise your terms.
So I'm going to turn now to our official legal correspondent, Nick Warrington. Nick, joining us now from Macclesfield. Nick, when does incentivization become bribery?
Ooh. Yeah, well, I'm not sure, actually, is the answer to that. It is a difficult one, particularly the way the UK treats it. But I suppose that they would say it's a commercial deal where you are just offering improved terms for more sales. So I'm sure that's the...
To individual showroom staff, though?
Well, I think if you look at most of them, it's normally capped below a certain level. And as long as it's below that, it's the usual sort of £50 shopping voucher or whatever seems to be below a level where anyone pays any attention to it. But I'm sure that there is an issue there, really, is between the employer and the employee, shall we say, as to if that employee is, if you like, going off and making their own deals on the basis of something that's outside their employment contract. So there is potential issues there if you felt that an employee was promoting one product over another purely so that they were maximising these little freebies for themselves.
I have had suppliers who have got frustrated by not being able to get into the door with us send these kickbacks directly to my staff, which I think definitely crosses the line of bribery when they've gone round me. We took a stance quite a while back because of this, and also because I came from the service side before I did sales. A lot of the service team put in a lot of hard work and never get anything back. So we like to collect it as a business and then do something with it, be that for the business or for the team or however that is. But I feel like that's very much our decision to make. And we're then not necessarily crossing over into that bribery grey area. either, which definitely has frustrated a couple of members of new sales staff.
There is a certain well-known large-scale German brand of appliance that did run for many years an incentive scheme where you accrued points and you put claims in and those points added up, and you could then purchase with those points pieces of equipment such as the iPad that I'm actually talking to you on today. Now, when that scheme first started, it was the directors who had the sole rights to the points, and we decided what to do with the points in terms of them buying a gift for a member of staff or a purposeful piece of equipment such as this iPad for the overall use of the team. But that scheme changed and it became personalised to the individual designers, which then we felt was unfair for exactly the same reasons that has been expressed by Liz, that there are many people in the team of the whole business that don't get to benefit from some of these incentives, and they should do, because they have an equal right to benefit from the overall success of the company. So we were uncertain about that and sort of made a few noises about it. And then funnily enough, the whole scheme just fizzled out, around the time of COVID. And I have a suspicion a lot of that is down to the legalese associated trying to run a scheme like that.
Bribery laws did change relatively recently, I think, to try and clarify some of this. But look, this does not constitute legal advice. We are not a legal podcast. Let's just draw a line under it there. There's plenty of information out there if you want it. What I want to go back to really is negotiation. That none of these things are set in stone. You've all talked about the conversations that you've had. So what would be your, top tips, advice for getting the most out of these kind of things, for really putting the arm up the back of the supplier? Let's go back to you, Steph.
Good question. I think for me, as I said, rebates aren't a huge motivator. I need to sit down with my accountant and have a look at how much benefit they really bring us. But for us, it's really about working with the suppliers that we know offer the quality and the service, and then nurturing that relationship with them. In terms of negotiation, we don't really engage in hard negotiations. We just nurture that relationship. So obviously there's a bit of strategy involved in terms of what you're displaying and things like that. And we kind of have a lot of conversations around which suppliers we want to prioritise in terms of our displays to maximise our terms. But really that's kind of where we come at it from. It's what do we know that our clients want, and then which companies offer us the best terms and the best quality service and products that can achieve that, and then prioritising that with our showroom displays. And then the rebates are just something that comes afterwards. And I think it would be really interesting to sit down with our sort of bookkeeper and go through really what extra benefit do we get from them. And then perhaps it will come into play a bit more for me. I'm quite interested to have a look at it, to be honest.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because again, that's not incentivizing you for anything, but they still exist. So it's not, the scheme itself isn't working. Liz, you've been doing this a while. When you're sat across the desk from your rep or whoever, do rebates go on the table? Is that a sweetener they put in? Is that something you argue about? How do you negotiate it?
I think the first thing is, are they a brand that we want to work with and be loyal to? Because I think that's probably the key to why they're doing it, more loyalty. The terms, as Steph said, so comparing against other suppliers. And then in terms of buying terms, and then the terms that they impose in order for you to get that rebate, what is that? So we sit and we work that out and outline to them what is going to make us feel like that rebate is worth it, and where we draw that line as well, because there's been talk of partnerships more recently, and that is how we view our relationships. We have a very select amount of suppliers, and we don't deviate from that because we know that we're going to get extra support above other people because of the loyalty that we've offered, and therefore we expect the rebates in return. So there's an expectation, I suppose, on our part, but that's clear between us and the companies that we deal with.
I think as a small retailer, I think probably the difficulty I find is that quite often it's just shoved across the table at me as a fait accompli, and it's a sort of take it or leave it. And I sometimes struggle with that. And this year in particular, it's funny because let's be honest, we talk about these not being an incentive, but we all like the fact that there is an achievable rebate in place so that we feel like we do have a reasonable chance of hitting that if we get a fair wind behind us. I, this year, have got two of my key suppliers where I'm not hitting rebate. I'm miles off. And the reason I'm miles off is because the figures they've given me this year versus last year are just preposterously higher than the year before. So it feels to me like you're almost punished for your success, where you go from a point of hitting a target and then it's next year, the prices go up 5% and your target goes up 40%. I'm already giving you most of the business out of my channel. Where is this extra 35% of the business coming from? Because I've not taken on 2 extra staff. So where did you as the ASM come up with this figure? That's where my frustration lies. So sometimes, although we talk about it not actually being much of an incentive, it can be a disincentive, because I look at a piece of paper sometimes. We've had a Q1 promotion this year. I looked at the figure, 42% higher than the previous year. I could tell as soon as the number came through that I wasn't going to hit it. So you might as well just throw it in the bin and forget about it, which is what I did. So negotiation for me, non-existent, and I struggle with it.
I imagine, Trevor, it gets to the point where you're negotiating with them, then it's all gone horribly wrong. But what's your views on this, on actually sitting across them and working these things out? I mean, is what Nick's saying there horribly familiar as well?
Well, it is, but this goes right back to my opening statement when you asked the first question, which is that we get offered a new incentive buy-based turnover rebate, and then we just laugh in their faces and say, come back to us with a sharpened pencil because we're not playing the game. Those terms to us are unacceptable this year. Would you like us to go to supplier X, who are offering more competitive term, or would you like to still retain our business? In which case, come back to us with a more sensible rebate scheme based on the turnover we're actually likely to achieve. And you know what? They come back and offer us better terms. So where is it an incentive and it actually does work? Well, we've recently switched our channel for purchasing a major brand of furniture by purchasing it now through the KBBG group, which I have to sort of put my hat into the ring and say that I have a vested interest, as I am the chair of the advisory board. But that didn't influence our business decision to do this. We were finding that we were experiencing service level issues with dealing with the UK operation of this particular supplier, and we wanted to go back to dealing directly with Germany. And we could only do that by purchasing through the buying group. Now, the initial upfront terms are actually slightly worse than the terms that we have been getting, but we're talking about 0.5% worse. But the bonus-based incentive is huge, and providing we hit a very sensible target, we will be a good 10-12% better off at the end of the year. Now, that really, to me, does endorse the value of a buying group. Now, I'm sure you'd like to have that as a completely separate subject, buying groups and their value, so I'm not going to harp on about it here, but you get my point.
Okay, well, look, let's investigate that a little bit, Steph. What would incentivise you? How would you structure this in a way that would give you something that would incentivise you in all the right ways?
Well, just reflecting on what everyone's been saying, I just wanted to make the point about the disincentivization bit is, having recently joined this community, I've been presented with a list of suppliers and their rebate targets. And, when they are ridiculously unachievable, it is actually a disincentive. But when one of the suppliers that you are already loyal to offer more, or you can negotiate more, that is what forges that really strong relationship for me. So it really is about those suppliers that you're loyal to and seeing what you can work with them on. And I think that's kind of as far as it goes for me at the moment. But yeah, the disincentive is certainly a thing.
Because really your main incentive there is just to do a good job at being a supplier, right? The most fundamental aspects of being a supplier, do that well, and that's all the incentive I
think it's so important that knowing that you've got that service and the commitment and that you can give somebody a call and it will get sorted for you is huge for both you and the client. So that's always going to be a priority for us.
Steph, the mistake you made there is using logic and reason. So let's not go down that route again, because that's never going to work out well for you. Liz, what about you? Is there a way of making these kind of schemes better or more incentivizing for you?
I'm not sure. I think I'm probably the wrong person to ask because I don't like change. So any new supplier coming in trying to negotiate is going to have a really hard time to talk to me, let alone get reason out of me. So yeah, I am the right person to come to. And then anyone who I've got a relationship with already, I'm just really open with them, and probably a little bit too open about how I feel and where I stand with things. And they know how far they can push me. I know how far I can push them. I think essentially it needs to be a fair deal that's going to work for everyone, because I want to retain the loyalty and the other potential little perks I might get from them throughout the year if I need extra support or something a little bit more unusual. So I don't want to affect that. It's a way up. It's a really hard question to answer.
It is. And I think what's coming through very clearly is you just want a fair deal with somebody. And actually, if you have a fair deal and you feel they're going to look after you, you look after them. And actually, you don't really need a financial incentive necessarily, although obviously they're nice when they come along. The real incentive is just do a good job of it. What do you think, Nick?
For me, that's the main thing. I just had my little rant, so you can see my view on it. And for me, it is that you shouldn't be in a situation where you hit your target one year and then the target the following year becomes that excessive that you can't hit it again. So you go through this hit your target, miss your target, hit your target, miss your target cycle, which some ASMs seem to think that that's just an ordinary way of things. For me, if they want consistency from their customers, us, then that rebate target should feel achievable every year. So as long as you're having a reasonable year in terms of your sales, that you hit it again, and not that one year you feel like you're going to do it and one year you're not. And I think there's some suppliers who perhaps need to rein it in a little bit and be a bit more realistic about what their customers can realistically achieve. And part of that is perhaps getting a better understanding of their customer in terms of how much of the channel spend they're already getting. And that should help them perhaps formulate something that's a little bit fairer from the get-go.
Well, look, let's finish this off by flipping this round. Is actually a better incentive one that incentivizes the consumer rather than you? You've all talked last week about the cashback deals to close all with Neff. Would you like to see more incentives to the consumer that are genuine incentives rather than incentives to you? Because you'll just sell more anyway that way.
I think that there needs to be better brand awareness for independents and more drive into us as retailers, not saturating the local markets so that people can really focus on the products and be specialists in the products that they're supplying. I think there are definitely other routes that people could take in order to create that loyalty and that kind of trust and bond, consumer awareness, higher sales. It's driving people into our doors. That's what we want. We want the right clients coming into our doors to make more sales and be able to buy the goods at the right price. Or that's what I want anyway.
Steph, are there many customer-driven incentives in the bathroom world? Because I'm thinking this is mainly appliances I have in my head, but in bathrooms, does it really exist?
Not really for us. It depends where you position yourself as well. So because we've kind of positioned ourselves to the sort of mid to high-end design-led, really most of our customers are interested in is, for them, it's about the quality they're getting and the service they're getting. And an extra sort of financial incentive on the product itself isn't really something that they're even asking about, to be honest. It's more about, am I getting that overall service? Am I getting the quality of products? Am I going to get that aftercare? So for us, we're picking the suppliers that we know can offer that. And our clients aren't really asking. I mean, occasionally there'll be a sale, a supplier will do a sale and clients will be aware of it and they'll ask us about that and can we go with these products and we'll do that. But by and large, I think it's not such a tangible thing in the market that we're working with at the moment. It's more about that overall quality. And almost discounts, aren't an attractive thing necessarily.
Well, look, I think we can conclude this by saying that the actual incentive is to do a nice job and try and do the best by the customer. And who'd have thought that was a thing? Hey? Who'd have thought that was the answer? Thank you very much, everybody. Trevor, enjoy the rest of your trip. You've only got about 770 islands left to go now or something. We'll see whatever field you're sat in a week's time. Thank you very much, everybody, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Well, I think if you're this seems mostly focusing around appliances, and without a doubt, the big incentive schemes for or get £2,000 cash back if you bought 6 appliances within a certain time scale, providing that part of a kitchen order, they are great incentive. They don't necessarily benefit me as an individual business owner. More, they do benefit the consumer. So the appliance brand wins out whichever, because the consumer is going to buy a kitchen with that suite of appliances from a supplier. Now, it's then down to us, based on our merits and our skills as designers and salespeople and as an overall business. And we're really lovely and cuddly and come and do business with us as opposed to competition. It's down to us to actually win that business, to win the order. The incentive is based on the consumer, and they're going to get that. That's something. They're already getting 3 or 4 quotes from competition who are often that's insane promotion, and they know what the bed layer is as well. And they'll be going around on that last thing. Go, go on then, guys. Got a £30 kitchen with you. Any one of you can have it. Who's going to sharpen their pencil just that little bit more so to place the order with you? So yeah, consumer based incentives work very well for suppliers, but they don't necessarily work very well for retailers.
Bye.